Hello everyone, welcome to the International Security course. We'll begin with Chapter 1, an introduction to security studies. In this chapter, we will firstly talk about international security and security studies in the 21st century. Then, the concept of international security, peace studies, and conflict resolution, and lastly, current and future global threats and challenges. Let's start with international security and security studies in the 21st century. Security is basically considered as a precondition for human existence. In the Hobbesian and archaical world, the raison d'être of the state is to protect its citizens and its borders from outside invasion. Therefore, the creation and maintenance of national security is the most basic duty of the nation-state. As a result, seeking security becomes one of the pivotal determinants of international relations. International security studies is a subfield of international relations. It has evolved from the disciplines of war studies, military history, and geopolitics after the Second World War. International security studies is defined as the study of threat, use, and control of military force. It investigates how conditions make the use of force more likely and how the use of force affects individuals, states, and societies. Globalization has had important consequences for national security. The traditionalist international security studies scholars challenge that contemporary globalization is a relatively new novelty and the nation-states are still a primary actor. Scholars distinguish between 5 models of security due to newly emerging diversity of perceived threats. These are military security, political security, economic security, societal security, and environmental security. Let's now move on to the concept of international security. All humans strive for survival. They are also born frightened. In order to balance survival and fear, states and other actors are formed to keep fear under control. Security is the feeling people get when their fears and anxieties are low. Safety is the feeling people get when you know no harm will physically, emotionally, or mentally happen to them. Security means the absence of a threat to stability of the international system and international actors, namely nation-states, multinational corporations, international governmental organizations, international non-governmental organizations, and armed non-state actors. During the Cold War, international security has been conceptualized within the national security perspective that aims to overcome the mutual nuclear global destruction. After the Cold War era, the emphasis in national security has shifted to collective security, human security, ethnic conflicts, global economy, environment, international migration, global terrorism, and cyber warfare. There is a close link between the concept of security and the concept of insecurity. The states remain fundamental to provide security or insecurity for some and not for others at home or abroad. Insecurity derives from the aggression of states as well as the lack of cooperation between states. Human security can be defined with narrow and broad senses. In a narrow sense, human security is conceptualized negatively in terms of the absence of threats to the physical security or safety of the individuals. The broad definition emphasizes positive aspects and vital core of all human lives, including fundamental human rights, survival of the livelihood, and fulfillment of the human dignity and freedoms. It is possible to explain, analyze, and understand the international security in 6 levels: individual level, societal level, national level, regional level, international level, and finally, global level. Now, we can move on to peace studies and conflict resolution. It is almost impossible to make sense of international security without referencing to peace and conflict resolution. Although both peace and conflict studies are the relatively new focus of study in international security, they are both broad and fast-growing interdisciplinary academic fields where theory and practice intertwine with real-world events. Peace can be defined in two ways. Negative peace focuses on reducing, eliminating, and ending all physical violence as well as war. It is the absence of direct violence. Positive peace means negative means plus the absence of structural and cultural violence. Violence is traditionally understood as the infliction of bodily harm with the intent to hurt. Direct violence involves intentionally hurting or killing people and directed against a specific group or person. It also incorporates verbal violence. Structural violence occurs when people can be killed, psychologically harmed, deprived, or maldeveloped because of violent political or socio-economic structures. Cultural violence is the use of nationalism, racism, sexism, Islamophobia, xenophobia, and other forms of discrimination in the media, the arts, education, literature, films, street names, money foods, celebrating special national holidays and heroes, etc., etc., and etc. To intellectually justify direct and structural violence. The basic human need approach differentiates the symptoms and causes of conflict. Hostage-taking, terrorism, gang warfare, public protest movements, and illegal strikes are symptoms. The causes of conflict cannot be seen in public eyes because they are under the iceberg. The international dispute, on the other hand, is a situation where the parties perceive incompatible interests and values. Our last topic for today is current and future global threats and challenges. Since the end of Cold War, the world has changed radically. Politics, business, economy, society, culture, and technology, all these changes have made old global threats and challenges irrelevant. Sometimes students need to forget what history has taught them and see the world with fresh eyes. The events of September 11, 2001 have shown the politicians, scientists, public, and the media that military threats and great power rivalry is no longer the gravest danger to the world's security. Security threats are no longer generated from nation-states. Current global threats and challenges have taken new forms in the 21st century. New threats are coming from mostly non-state actors. The list of current and future global threats and challenges have become longer with the end of Cold War. Transnational terrorism, weapons of mass destruction, organized crime, global health epidemics, AIDS, population boom, drought, climate change, regional conflicts, mass migrations, environmental degradation, energy insecurity, poverty, failed states, pollution, global economic crisis, human rights abuses, crimes against humanity, genocide, war crimes, etc. So, this is the end of our program for Chapter 1 of the International Security course. Goodbye, and see you in our next program, Chapter 2.